Gabriel Plotkin and Ken Griffin and Vlad Tenev, do you think they see themselves as the villains in this story?
Oh, so great question. Listen, Gabe, I'll take them one at a time. Gabe Plotkin to me is not a villain at all. This is a guy who's done very well in his life. He's a brilliant hedge funder. He did the most normal thing in the world. He shorted GameStop. That is not an unusual trade. GameStop was a company that probably should have gone out of business, right? It's a brick and mortar store that sells consoles in a digital world. They have a huge base of people, but they totally mismanage it. They have a revolving door of CEOs. They totally blew the move to digital, and they were in the prime position to become the Amazon of gaming. But they didn't, right? They made a lot of mistakes. So shorting that company made a lot of sense. Gabe was taken completely by surprise by what happened. And he got out of his position when he got out of his position. So you really can't plant him as a villain. Reddit sees him as a villain because he was shorting this beloved company during a pandemic. And so you can think about, well, is that ethical? Is it ethical to short? But honestly, that's what hedge funds do. He's a short, long hedge fund. He has to short things. So I don't see Gabe as a villain at all, even though he is villainized, and I understand that. And I think he's a perfect dartboard for the anger against Wall Street because he owns a $34 million mansion in Miami and, presumably lives this lifestyle, that none of us live. So yes, but no. So Robinhood is another interesting point. They're not a villain either to me. Robinhood, has handed to all of us this portal to Wall Street, democratized finance by giving us all the ability to buy and sell stock, just like we were a Wall Street trader. It's scary because it's gamified, Wall Street. I don't think you can argue that it doesn't gamify. When you have confetti pop out when you buy a stock, then
no, it's definitely gamified.
Right?
Yeah.
But, what they're trying to do isn't evil. They're trying to give us all the ability to buy and sell stock, right? They're trying to give us, something that we didn't have before, and we don't have to pay fees. They make their money by selling our trades to a market maker, basically. But is that evil or is that just business, and again, I don't think Vlad is a bad guy. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a smart guy. But I think they're naive in thinking they can be a bank without being more regulated, without being more the adult in the room, right? There's a great scene in the book when this really happened where they're being met with by people who build clearing companies, essentially. And one of their people is like standing on a skateboard during the meeting, because they're Silicon Valley unicorns. They're the fun guys, So that becomes part of the story as well. And then you look at Citadel. Now, I think in the book, they definitely are presented in sort of a dark way because I think you can definitely equate them. If this were the Lord of the Rings, they are Sauron, they're the giant eye in the sky. They're at the center of the U.S. economy. 40% of retail trades go through them. Nobody really knows what they do. It's so murky, all right? Nobody understands what Citadel actually does. It's so complicated. How could we understand it? And they're at the center of this whole thing. So, I think from their point of view, no, of course they're not the bad guys. From their point of view, they're the reason we can buy and sell stocks through Robinhood. They give us the best price and the quickest deal, but they make money, right? And how they make money, you start to wonder and you start to get nervous about. But from their point of view, listen, they survived 2008 as well. They got to this point because they're very smart and they placed themselves at the center of the U.S. economy. So in the reality, no one ever sees themselves as a villain, right? No one believes that they're the villain. And I think anyone can be a hero in their own movie. And you can look at the points of view of all these different characters and say, well, you could also say the guy sitting on his couch putting up ridiculous memes on Reddit about destroying Melvin is a villain too. You could point to anybody in the story and say they're the bad guy, except for I think Keith Gill. I don't think that this guy sitting in his basement in Brockton who falls in love with GameStop is a bad guy in any way, shape, or form. I think he sincerely loves that stock. And, that to me is something to respect and to appreciate. So there are a lot of people who could be the villain in this story, and it all depends on your perspective, I think.
Yeah, one of the things you quite you allude to and sort of talk about a bit in the book is the idea that Robinhood are named after the people taking from the rich and given to the poor, and that they have given people this sort of window or entry point into the stock market. but that at the same time, as you mentioned, they're selling the order flow, the payment for order flows on the other side of it, and which, yeah, it to me feels at best vaguely disingenuous as to like what you're attempting to pretend that you're doing, because they're not a trading platform in my mind. They're a software company in the same way that every single social media platform or tech firm is these days, that like we are the product and
right.
our data is the thing being sold. So it's very similar to Facebook, is that like Facebook isn't the product. Our data is the product, and that's how these companies function.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And that's where it gets really fishy, is that, if you get on Robinhood, you don't have to pay anything. You can buy and sell stock. There's no commission. And it seems great. But the reality is, because that's the way it works, well, how do they make their money? They take all of our trades and they offer them to a market maker, and they get a good deal. And that's how they're making a lot of their money. So you begin to wonder, well, where are their interests? What pushed pressure on them? Is it us, or is it, the other side? And that ends up leading to conspiracy theories, because when they freeze trading on GameStop, you have to wonder, well, what made them do that? Was it really this collateral call from their clearinghouse, or was somebody in Wall Street putting pressure on them? And then the eyes start to turn towards Citadel. Now, I don't really believe there's a conspiracy there. I don't really believe Citadel pressured them, because I don't think Citadel needs to pressure them. Citadel is the house. In Vegas, the house doesn't need to cheat because the house is always going to make money. Citadel knows where the trades are going to go. They see the trades, and so they can trade on the information that they have, and that's how they make their money. I think if you're clear and you understand where Robinhood makes their money, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think everyone was clear on that. And I think that's what's called into question. And now you're actually seeing a lot of movement around, is payment for order flow, should it be allowed? Should this be a way of making money? And that'll be a discussion that gets more and more complicated as government looks into it. But it definitely puts a dark view of everything that's going on. There's this sort of grayness, because you suddenly realize everybody is interconnected. Robinhood to Citadel to Melvin Capital and the short side, they're all connected to each other. And then the regular people who are on the buy side are sitting at home on their couches trying to take on this giant empire. And that's where the drama comes in, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ready made for a fantastic film.
Yeah.
I really hope you get Ryan Gosling as Keith Gill.
Ryan Gosling would be a great Keith Gill. We're working on, the movie is moving quickly. I think we're going to have a really cool movie situation coming soon. But it's at MGM, and Mike DeLuca, who did The Social Network, and Aaron Ryder, who did Arrival, Memento, is producing it. And the screenplay is in. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's great. So we should be getting actors soon. So it should be awesome. Yeah.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, ExpressVPN, and my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, can both be found in the links in the description below. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to help us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening. Screw the hedge funds.
You can make as many rules as you want, but if there's no teeth behind them, what's the point?
Well, like Citadel is potentially just gone in a few months. It feels like financial institutions, that they are all laughing at us by buying GME. Screw the hedge funds. Like, I will lose my entire investment if it brings them down.
Why on earth, last May, could you buy the entire company for $200 million?
What's been happening on Reddit and in social media and in the marketplace has never been seen before.
I argue that nothing is off the table. There is nothing off the table when dealing with the volumes of money in something as big as the United States stock market.
The hedge funds have clearly underestimated a group of people raised on Friday night World of Warcraft raids.
Dark pools, they're another mechanism to manipulate and cheat. Mainstream journalists don't say these things for a number of reasons. One is their sources are the people that I'm talking about, and so they can't call somebody a crook.
Superstonk and the other communities that have emerged are a hive mind, the likes of which we have never seen before. It's madness and brilliance, insanity and genius all rolled into one. It's very possible that Citadel will be gone in a few months, And not just Citadel, but the entire financial system has the potential to come crashing down. These crooks continue to gamble recklessly with the world economy, and this could be the moment that they finally get their justice.